Louisville, Kentucky, 1981. Three dedicated seekers, Don Elkins, a professor of physics and UFO investigator, Carla Rueckert, a gifted channel and mystic, and Jim McCarty, their transcriber and collaborator, have spent 19 years refining an experimental communication protocol. Their goal was to establish contact with non-human intelligence through trance channeling. After nearly 2 decades of experimentation, the quality of their content shifts dramatically. A new entity begins speaking through Carla, one that identifies itself as Ra. There is an Egyptian god, Ra.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sun.
And later we're going to figure out they're kind of related.
Yeah.
Same entity probably. Describing itself as a 6th density social memory complex, which have that in your pipe and smoke it. 6th density social memory complex.
But that is, yeah.
That evolved on the planet Venus approximately 2.6 billion years ago. Between 1981 and 1984, they conduct 106 sessions, each following a rigorous format. Don asks questions, Carla in deep trance speaks as Ra, and Jim transcribes every word. The process was meticulously controlled. Carla would enter a trance state, and Ra would speak through her in a slow, even-paced monotone with a distinctive, somewhat pedantic pattern of word usage. Don's questions were prepared in advance, and the sessions were recorded on tape. Ra claimed this method allowed for precise transmission of complex metaphysical concepts. Unfortunately, it has a tragic end. The Ra contact ended abruptly in 1984 when Don Elkins died by suicide under circumstances that remain mysterious. Alright people, our channel has been shadow banned, so really kind of you if you like, share, and comment, and let us know where you watched this video and how long you have been subscribed to our channel. Thank you so much.
What do you got for us tonight, Marnie?
Today we have another treat. Yeah. So many books came out in between 1960s to 1990s or even further on that have almost the same kind of element to it. This like higher extraterrestrial or I don't know, interdimensional entity connecting someone through channeling and speak through them and like give like explain our reality and everything. And we've been through Urantia book.
Yep.
But Urantia book wasn't as known as this one. This one is the Law of One. Ra. R-A. Which is, this one is the most, I think is the most famous one.
Yes.
So it's been very known.
I think so, yeah.
Very known. That's not a correct way to go about it, but it's more known than Urantia book or other books that in this channel we're going to cover. We're going to get through some of those books that came out in this 30 years period. So in terms of message, this book has like a more complete narrative and everything.
Yeah,
it explains things very well, and
it's a rounded story.
Yeah, of course, and of course, you can see the similarity or like adaptation from other texts or literature before it.
Yeah,
but it's still like there are concepts that haven't been spoken as much before its time.
I just want to say to you as a background for, if you think about what's happening in society, 40s and 50s, it or getting into the 60s, 40s and 50s were extremely conservative, partly because of the war and then the aftermath of the war. But by the 60s, the new energy was coming then, which became this sort of revolutionary anti-war and eventually hippie movement. So I think people were looking for new answers or new possibilities in life. Maybe that's why these sort of books started turning up then.
Hmm.
You know, that's when I was growing up too, in the 60s and 70s. I really wasn't familiar with this book then, but certainly many similar ones. And that's when people like Eric von Daniken started writing about what was happening in South America with the Nazca lines and the pyramids and these sort of things. It was I remember a huge groundswell of interest.
Yeah, that was my question. I was wondering if you came across this book by that time.
No, I didn't.
Mm.
But there was one from the 50s, a Tibetan monk who many people say is fake, but I don't know either way. He was Tuesday Lobsang Ramtha. And that really...
Come again?
Tuesday Lobsang Ramtha.
Uh-huh.
No, start again. Tuesday Lobsang Rampa.
And
And
that was his name?
that was his name.
Okay.
And he wrote about amazing things. And actually, it was his books, true or false, I don't care, that really opened my eyes to the world beyond going to church on Sundays and this sort of narrow thinking of the 50s. That's the one that got me, just because my aunt happened to have it on a bookshelf. But this one, no, I'm afraid I didn't get to know about. But there were, I know there were of others similar to this in that time too. Actually, maybe that might be interesting to research Lobsang Rampa's books later and the effect that they had on people. Because, I mean, he had a real cult following, and he wrote about things like astral travel and reincarnation and secret things in the Himalayas and levitation. Yeah, it's an interesting story. I know we're sidetracking now, but maybe it could be another thing we could check out. But a lot of skepticism about the truth of if he was a monk or not. But who cares? He, true or not, really opened my eyes for other worlds. Because of him, I had a mathematics teacher who was a Brahmin priest from India, or from Bangladesh, actually. And after reading Lobsang Rampa's books, I persuaded him to spend his lunchtimes teaching us philosophy at
cool.
school. And he did. Just had a little trouble understanding him, but
Yeah, I imagine.
but if I had read this book, then wow, I would my lights would have been blown out completely.
So, okay, we're not gonna right now, because I don't want to start by shitting on the book. I want to give I want to build the image of it, what it is, and then we can fact check it and see.
Sure. Yep. Let's do that.
The debunkers and the skeptics, what they thought about it. So, okay, if you want to set the scene, Louisville, Kentucky, 1981. 3 dedicated seekers: Don Elkins, a professor of physics and UFO investigator; Carla Rueckert, a gifted channel and mystic. Well, whenever it's like a gifted channel and mystic, it's like, all right, says who? Yeah, all right. And Jim McCarty, their transcriber and collaborator, have spent 19 years refining an experimental communication protocol. Their goal was to establish contact with non-human intelligence through trance channeling. I don't think they were that original by the time.
No.
Yeah, 1981.
Not at all.
Yeah,
Oh.
because by that time it's been the Urantia book was out, the book that you mentioned was out.
That came in the 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Urantia book came like early 52, 1955, something like that. So the methodology, let's say,
Yeah.
channeling Sleeping Beauty, channeling an entity, it wasn't like a brand new thing.
And just to back up what you're saying, in 1974, I learned to work with my guided teachers doing what they're doing alongside thousands.
1971, you said?
74.
74.
Alongside thousands of others. Wasn't just a unique thing for me. So, I mean, that was already happening on an everyday scale, actually.
Still, they got together a team and,
Yeah, but still, good on them. Yeah,
got into it for 19 years. So
Yeah.
kudos to them.
That's dedication. Yeah.
And they made a breakthrough. After nearly 2 decades of experimentation, the quality of their content shifts dramatically. A new entity begins speaking through Carla, one that identifies itself as Ra, which later we're going to figure out because there is an Egyptian god, Ra.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sun.
Yeah. Later we're going to figure out they're kind of related.
Yeah.
Same entity probably. Describing itself as a sixth density social memory complex, which have that in your pipe and smoke it. Sixth density social memory complex, whatever that means.
Whatever that is, yeah.
That evolved on the planet Venus approximately 2.6 billion years ago. So far, interesting, 2.6 billion years ago, there's an entity that has been developed on Venus.
Yeah, quite possible. But remember that it's a bit tricky, this time thing, because our time system really relates to here and this dimension and this place. So, yeah, 2.6 billion years sounds like a long time ago, but yeah, it's relative.
And yeah, in a cosmos scale. It's
Yeah,
not,
yeah. It's not.
It's like a.
I don't think there's much significance in that age. That's what I mean.
It's afternoon.
Yes.
2.6 billion years. All right. Between 1981 and 1984, they conduct 106 sessions, each following a rigorous format. Don asks questions, Carla in deep trance speaks as Ra, and Jim transcribes every word. So, yeah, pretty standard method.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, they're very thorough. Yeah.
All right, the methodology. The process was meticulously controlled. Carla would enter a trance state, and Ra would speak through her in a slow, even paced, monotone with a distinctive, somewhat pedantic pattern of word usage. Don's questions were prepared in advance, and the sessions were recorded on tape. Ra claimed this method allowed for precise transmission of complex metaphysical concepts.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's good.
The participants. Okay, these are the three people that we're gonna just get some type of background of who they were. Don Elkins lived between 1930 to 1984. A professor of physics and engineering, pilot with a lifelong interest in UFOs and channeling. He began experimenting with channeling in 1961 after encountering the work of a Detroit contactee group. He was the questioner, the intellectual driver of the project. So he liked UFOs and yeah, it's like he was me. Kind of.
Actually, just on that point too, after World War II, as you may or may not know, the UFO phenomenon exploded after 1947 with Roswell. That was really the beginning, publicly at least. And I mean, I grew up through 50s and 60s with my father as a ufologist too, and this was a big deal. I mean, everywhere. I mean, there were films.
Your dad was a ufologist?
Yes, and his best friend. They studied UFOs intensely. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they had a mutual friend who was a pilot in New Zealand. His name was Captain Bruce Cathy, and he's written a series of books on his experience with UFOs.
Is he alive still?
No, he died some years ago. But his books are all out there, and he's a very famous ufologist.
Cool.
And I met him several times. Very technical, down-to-earth, good pilot.
Right.
But he had several really intense encounters, both on the ground and in the air. But he worked out a network system of how they fly around the planet. That's what he's famous for. His most famous book is Harmonic 33, which is something to do with how they fly. And because of him, I would go to some of these places and saw my first UFO sightings, thanks to my dad's friend. By coincidence, quite close to where we lived, fortunately. But you'd see them quite regularly flying this line over.
Most of pilots have some type of encounters.
Yeah, I think a lot more than will admit it.
They don't talk about it, no.
No.
Because they can hurt their careers, yeah.
From memory, it did do some damage to Bruce Cathy's career. He might have been at the end and didn't care, I don't know. But he got extremely famous for his books. Yeah.
Yeah.
That little sidetrack, but I want to mention that because that was also happening in the 50s, 60s, 70s. It was a really big deal. And a lot of really strange films came out of the 50s about Martian creatures eating you. And so all got pretty over the top, But there was a lot of activity then. I don't know if it's more than now, but it certainly was more published than now.
I think we kind of facing a new wave of it.
I agree.
I think it's like, how do you say, cloaking that gets invisible? How do you say it?
Yeah.
Cloaking. And they can like hide in a plain sight. So that's why we don't, especially with our phones, and because skeptics and debunkers always say, "Oh, you have phone in your pocket, camera. Why nobody sees?" Like, yes.
Well, I know we're not talking about this is off track for what with the book, but I think it's interesting that I think UFO activity does tend to come in groups, and in periods. You have an intense period, then like when we had all the cattle mutilations in the 70s and I think early 80s. And then it just, what happened with that? It stopped. And the abductions, again in 70s and 80s, that was, and 60s, that was really big deal for a while. And then I can't remember anyone getting abducted for a while. Can you? Or if there is, we don't hear about it.
Yeah, it's hard to tell actually if it's still happening or not.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know either way.
Yeah.
But if I want to put my money, I say, yeah, it is happening, but it goes hush hush. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, okay, so this guy, Don Elkins, looking at his age, he'd be in his 20s and the 50s, and he would be right. And I can understand why he was into the UFO thing, because it was a big deal then.
Poor guy didn't live long. 54 years.
Well, we know what happened, don't we?
Yeah.
We won't disclose that, yes.
Yeah.
or create a little mystery here.
Yeah. I want to be like, keep it authentic. I'm reading it as we go. So he was into UFO and channeling and stuff. So he had the interest at least.
Yeah.
So the Sleeping Beauty, Carla Rueckert, 1943 to 2015. She lived long. The channel, the instrument through whom Ra spoke. She had a background in mysticism and had been channeling for years before the Ra contact. She remained conscious of nothing during the sessions, which,
That's good.
yeah, it makes sense because I noticed that when you were channeling that guy, that entity, Mahatma, you were kind of out of it. Like, you weren't conscious about it.
I've worked quite a bit with how this works, being a medium. Well, I got trained as one myself and have trained others. And there are different levels of consciousness, if you like. Some people can go into full trance very easily, and that's obviously what she's doing, and that's what I was doing. When that was happening, I am not completely gone, but I don't know what's happening. I'm still here, and it's like being asleep, but consciously asleep. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what my body's saying, but I'm aware that something's happening. That's kind of what it's like. So you're not fully asleep, but you're not in control either. And that I mean, I say that's good because there's less chance of influence of the medium. That's always something you've got to be aware of. You know, that maybe the medium's got a slant on things and wants to prove something, and that's not healthy. So, but I'll, in support of this woman, I would say good. If she's in complete trance, then I would say she's a good medium, and this person, Ra, probably could get his message across well.
Well, one thing that is different between this and the Yorentia book is that they recorded everything on the tape.
Yeah.
What she was saying while she was in the trance state. So
Mm.
that's interesting. So they did. It wasn't like, okay, yeah, what are we gonna make out of this stuff or whatever, and then they, put their kind of interpretation in it and turn it 180 degrees. So
excellent.
At least this was like you can have access to the raw material. Raw.
I know. Yeah, you're quite right. Yeah.
So
okay.
Jim McCarty, 1947, and Jim McCarty is the only member of that group that is still alive.
Yeah.
Jim McCarty, 1947, and he's still alive. The scribe who transcribed and edited the sessions. He's the only surviving member of the original trio and continues to store the material through LL Research, the non-profit organization they founded in 1970s. So the LL, I don't know what that stands for.
We might find out through the session.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it has a tragic end. The Raw contact ended abruptly in 1984 when Don Elkins died by suicide under circumstances that remain mysterious. Some speculate that the intense nature of the contact combined with physics attacks on Carla and internal group dynamics contributed to his confusion and despair.
It's psychic attacks.
Book 5 of the series includes personal commentary on these difficult events. All right, so he died in a controversial way. You
might say that something a little. It can be quite difficult being a medium if you don't really have good control of your own energy, and because I don't know Carla, so I can't say if she was or wasn't. But just from reading this, what can happen if you get too open it's easy that other entities can slip in and do not good stuff. And it seems from reading between the lines here that maybe this might have been what happened to Carla and to this man, that some not so pleasant energy has affected them.
Oh, shit. All right, the core mystery. How did a physics professor, a mystic, and a scribe produce 106 sessions of dense, internally consistent cosmological material that covers everything from the nature of consciousness to the origins of humanity? All while Carla was in a trance state and reportedly speaking words she didn't know. Skeptics call this creative collaboration. Believers call it genuine contact with a higher intelligence.
I'm not sure what creative collaboration is, but maybe some truth in that. But I don't kind of doubt it from the way they've set themselves up here.
Well, creative collaboration is that like three creative people get together and like
And create a fake situation.
Yeah, got their
That's a
two
lot of
cents.
fakery. 106 sessions. Bloody hell.
I know, but
Yeah.
there wasn't much to do back then.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Okay.
No, I'm just being silly. No, that's how skeptics think.
No TikTok.
Honestly, I like to have to have critical thinking, but I hate to be a skeptic.
Yeah.
It's
Good.
two different things to be
Absolutely.
to have critical thinking and to be a skeptic. Because being a skeptic is like being an asshole.
Yes.
Like you can be an asshole about everything. You can shed on everything.
Yeah. Actually, I think that's a really good way to treat ourselves in life too. But a self-criticism is always really healthy. But just keep doubting yourself all the time, that is poison. You don't do that. It's not healthy.
Yeah. What do you call it, if you want to call it, between these two? Believers call it genuine contact with a higher intelligence, or what would you call it? Creative collaboration?
From how they've set it up and how they described her, I would say it is genuine contact with a higher being, but we've yet to see what the higher being brings forth.
We'll get there. Don't worry.
I know we will, but I mean, I can comment more when we've come a little further.
Yeah, I'm teasing.
But,
I know.
I
know we have to get into it first to see what it is, and then I'm just like,
my tendency is to think it's genuine so far.
The book explains like everything as it says, but we're gonna have like a highlights of topics that are really important. All right, one of those topics is cosmology, a complete framework of the spiritual evolution. The law of one presents comprehensive metaphysical system that attempts to explain everything: the nature of reality, the purpose of human existence, the structure of the cosmos, and the path of a spiritual evolution.
Bravo. That's big.
Yeah, you're so big on that. Yeah. Okay, the core principle: all is one.
Wow. Yes.
Ta-da!
That's it. We can go home now.
Can go home. Turn off the lights.
Actually, I just made a video about that yesterday in another context. But I mean, we know that. We know that a lot better than what we might have done in the 80s. And I'm relating specifically to quantum physics and the entanglement theory, which is very new, but that really has shown without a shadow of doubt that it's true.
Yeah, because scientists like kinda end up in the position that they believe the building block of the universe of our reality is not atom, it's the consciousness.
Yes.
So, and there is a field that unites like his
Yes.
subconscious or whatever you want to call it, that is unite all the active consciousness individuals. So
that
everything is one.
yeah,
Yeah.
or another way of saying that we are all different frequencies of the same energy, but it's the same energy, the same consciousnness. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that's if you can ever prove anything, that's as close as we're going to get, I think, with the entanglement theory.
Yeah.
Which is mind blowing, because there is no doubt when you look at it, you know, and that's what religions have always taught us too. Of course, we are one with God, or one in God, as it were, however it's worded. And from other fronts too, Taoism says microcosm is macrocosm. What happens on the atomic or subatomic level is happening everywhere. It's the same thing.
True.
There's no difference. And on it goes. There are many ways of looking at the theory of one, the law of one. And it makes perfect, absolute sense to me, you know.
Yeah. I think the core principle of it is very, like, how do you say it? It's a general look of what it is, which this is still like they aim for a right thing.
Yes.
At least. And I like it, but that's not an impressive part of this book.
No, I know.
I just want to mention.
I just want to say, as a backup,
I'm gonna tell you where I think is very impressive.
Oh, we'll get to that.
For
Now
me,
I'm
at
looking.
least,
Now you
yeah.
got me confused, confused and
Yeah.
interested too. I just want to say, I really understand anyone watching this that might think, "Nah, come on, I'm not the same as the table or the window."
I think I'm gonna cut you right there, because I think Matrix like took care of that.
Oh, all right.
That
Okay.
misconception of like, oh no, I'm separate from this table or whatever. It can all be just electrons.
You go, Matrix.
Sending
Good on it.
information.
You kill my doubts.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Let's move on.
All right. The fundamental teaching, the law of one, through beyond the limitations of name, may be approximated by stating that all things are one, that there is no polarity, no right or wrong, no disharmony, but only identity. All is one. And that one is love or light or love. The infinite creator. I'm speechless.
But it's
the infinite creator. Yeah.
Well, to me, the infinite creator is not outside of us. We are it.
Yeah, it's part of us.
Yes. Well, it is us.
Yeah, exactly. But
communally, if you like.
Well, I say it's part of us because not everyone nurture that part, so it can die out, you know, in people.
That's very true.
And we call those people NPC.
I know.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing. Like, if you stop being it's not about like creating something, like, I don't know, create content or like something or invent something. It's about the way you think. If you can create thoughts that are not necessarily in the frame that is acceptable by society or whatever science community or whatever standards that are out there. If you can create something outside of that norm, then you nurture the creator side of you that has been given to you.
Yes.
It's part of you.
Yes.
Or as you say, it's you.
Yeah.
But it can be not you.
I get it totally what you're saying, Arnie. It's true. Yeah.
So yeah, the infinite creator, everything that exists, every being, every object, every thought is a manifestation of the one infinite creator. We are not separate entities experiencing a universe. We are the creator experiencing itself in infinite diversity.
Yes.
This is not pantheism, God is everything, but panentheism, everything is within God, and God transcends everything. That's a little adjustment. A slide of the hand can change the whole
Yeah.
concept of reality.
Yeah.
Just say God is everything. It's like, no. Everything is within God. And
Yeah.
it can transcend everything.
Sure.
Slide of the hand, but
Yeah.
make a huge difference. The original thought, creation begins with the original thought, the desire of the one to know itself.
Mm.
We were talking about this before in our earlier podcasts.
Yes, we were.
Like it was perfect. It's not like a process that needs to take place to be completed. It's perfect. It just has to go through this process to know itself.
To be more conscious.
Yeah, to gain more understanding of itself.
Yes.
Because usually when something is completed, it's done.
Yes.
It's over. Like whatever, if you download something, when it's 100, it's done. It's the end, kind of.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you look at us here on this planet, we come in from a definitely much higher state of consciousness, of beingness, and come down here with our blinkers on, and we can't remember a lot of what we've been or what we've experienced before. But that's in line with what you're saying. We're here to experience the physical realm, which apparently gives us the chance to be very focused and to create. So when we go back to that high consciousness, but with a complete, with a broader
Understanding.
experience of ourselves as God, or God as God.
Well, to be honest, I have my problems with this analogy as well. It's not an analogy.
I get stuck on the word God, I'm afraid.
No.
When I do.
I don't have a problem with the religious side of it. I have a problem with the whole process, whole thing itself.
All right.
So what's the point?
Do you want to rearrange it?
No, I just think like, what's the point of it?
Yeah.
Okay, know yourself. Then
well,
what?
We're in the middle of a process that's probably hard to know what the point is.
We're not. Based on quantum physics, it's already taken place. So it has been, and it will be. But it's like we just look at it in a linear way. But it happened if you were outside time and space.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So that's the thing that always gets me confused about all this. As nice and interesting it sounds, this has this flaw for me. I cannot accept it.
But the thing is, dude, we're probably here to experience linear time, which we cannot do outside of here.
Yeah, I understand that, but what's the point? That's all. Like, well, what are you going to gain? Imagine yourself outside time and space, and all this happened already. What are you going to gain by experiencing linear timeline?
That's what we find out, I guess, by the end of this life. I don't know yet.
All right.
I don't. Yeah.
I'm not saying I know.
No, I know.
I'm saying I'm curious to answer that question.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But I know I've got the blinkers on, but I know I'm here to learn something from this place. But I haven't got it sorted yet. I've no idea. If I had, I probably wouldn't be hanging around.
I don't think I'm going to love the answer of it. That's
42. Sorry.
You got me
now I'm being silly.
No, that was a good one. Yeah, it's 42. Maybe.
It really might be.
So, where were we? This thought fragmented into infinite reflections, each experiencing separation so that the creator could explore all possibilities. Our journey is to remember our true identity and return to conscious unity with the One. Cool.
In other words, take the blinkers off.
Pretty much so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, it sounds a little less romantic, but it's probably how it is.
Yeah. Okay, this is the part that really, stands out for me.
Yes, this is my cup of tea.
The concept of densities, different densities. This was the first I heard about this concept in this book.
Yeah.
Way before this podcast. Okay. The densities of consciousness. The most distinctive and influential aspect of the raw material is its system of densities, a hierarchical framework of the spiritual evolution through which all consciousness progresses. So in this book, they divided to 8 densities. Like consciousness have 8 different densities. And based on those densities, we kind of level up in this quest to evolve. First density is the density of awareness. Characteristics of it is that the simplest form of consciousness, earth, air, fire, water, minerals, awareness of existence, but no self-awareness. So you want to break down the first density a little?
Yeah, that's actually taking it a lot further than what I thought they had. But I don't know how we can really... I mean, I believe that, but I don't know how we can really know that rock has consciousness or air or earth or fire. I believe they do. I think everything does. But as it says, it probably doesn't have self-awareness.
No, but has awareness.
Yes. Well, everything is life, isn't it?
Well,
so
if you want
it must do.
If you want a little like a science perspective on it, silicons are, we use it for processors and transmitting data.
Yeah.
So it has some type of awareness in it.
And it's so many experiments to be done with water, showing what happens with water if you give it love or give it hate or
it receives
calm music or rough music.
It receives energy and data and it saves energy and data.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's consciousness. That's a reaction. Yeah. So it's something we don't really put much energy towards, but I think it's utterly fascinating. I have my favorite rock when I'm doing Qigong. And when I stand on that rock, I really feel cared for. I feel a response back from the rock. I can never be sure how much is me projecting or how much it's real, but there's only that one rock that gives me that feeling.
I think it echoes back your energy.
Yes.
To you. Yeah.
That's just what I feel.
That's what I mean with silicon. Like it can receive data, it can
That's right.
transmit data. So
that rock now knows that I love standing on it. I love being there. I get a lot of energy from it. I feel energy coming up. And somehow I get it responds to me. And when I'm doing Qigong, that's where I do it best. It's a weird little uneven rock. It's not very easy to stand on. But man, it's a good place to be.
I guess it makes sense.
Yeah. So that to me is what they're saying with the first density level. It's I just want to add to that too, that I feel that by interacting with minerals or water or air, that we actually maybe help elevate the consciousness of those things. Like me standing on that rock and loving being there might actually help form or raise the consciousness of it. That's a question. I don't know. But
it might as well be their journey of evolution.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But I say that with a big question mark, but it feels like it to me.
I don't say it with big question marks.
Oh, good.
I made a statement.
Oh, thank you, God. Well done.
Okay. Second density, the density of growth.